Well, here it is, the video I said I would never make. But since I've already been so impressed with WoW today and trying to sell it to them, I figured I'd make a video, and that way, if they go and take it without paying me, then we'll know. Well, it's the it's really a $1 billion fax machine. It'll make $1 billion over and over and over again. It's my greatest invention. It's a video game platform that's designed to build video games. So, I mean, let's look at this as if you're coming into it, right? You go and build a map. Well, with the map, you got it where everything is. You see a two-dimensional map. It has the area, and it has F1, 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 33333, D, 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 X, 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 M, P, 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 right? And those are shortcut icons. Okay, your character has a ball around it. This is its space. Everything inside the space is super clear. Let's say 300 bit. Well, then you have a little bigger space that, like double the size, where it's all, let's say, 250 bit. But as you get farther away to the third bubble, you're not the full map still, but the last one takes the farthest, and it's all like 8-bit. You know what I mean? It does the visual acuity for the shifting of the zones, which lowers megabytes huge. So you have this character inside 3 bubbles. Now, the character, just like any character, what human doesn't look the same? They have arms, they have legs, they walk the same, they punch, they kick, and you're able to, those are loops. Anybody who's ever seen a cartoon knows it's page, 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 page. Well, that's the loop of how it walks. It's a picture, and then a picture, and then a picture, and then a picture, and then when you get into like the stuff you see on movies, it's like 3,000 a second. So 3,000 every, that's why they look so good. And then texture mapping. You take a picture, you change the color a little bit, and you dot it. That's how they do it. So that's it. You're able to change the skies to whatever color you want. Really, with mine, I was looking for shortcuts, because I wanted this game to be played on any DVD. And you're like, how is that even possible? It's like, well, you can use using just the remote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, fast forward, rewind, play, stop. Those are all buttons. And this way you could play all my video games on the. Plus, you have that aspect of being able to pause it. You just did something, that record thing. You're able to take pieces from games and put it into other ones, for the real advanced, I mean, these were supposed to be total interactive games that are digitally one with each other. You will always be able to add, like in some of those video games where you can't jumping does not exist. Well, it's a lot of work to put a jump program in because that changes the visual optics. That's why it's hard for them to do it. It's not just putting a button configuration in. It's an entire loop string with grab and a whole bunch of other things that tie to that one jump. But with my version, it would already be there. It just sits dormant. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's not complicated, you know, because it runs on such small megabytes, regardless how complicated the pictures are, and it would still never have a load screen because everybody knows you walk up to the end and it goes in loading. Well, if you go and take that line and divide it to an in-between zone where it starts you walk in, it says you've passed this point, and it starts loading this one as you're rolling around here. By the time you would get there, even in a straight line, so you got to divide it far enough that walking as fast as you can would start it to trigger. It would say, oh, loading. So that by the time you get there, this one's already shutting down. Everybody who's ever been to the city knows those revolving doors. It's sort of the same premise, you know, and that's what the game would be. You know, you can build anything. And then all you have to do is take my greatest dice game ever made and you put that under it. You know, so that's where all the shortcuts come from. The main little F1, the tree, is down here at the bottom. And every time the second bubble, goes and crosses one of it takes the focus. Now, there has to be 3 trees, the bubble, for each bubble. You know, it's a different clarity, which they seem like it would think it would be a lot, but it's not, you know. I mean, they lose a lot more megabytes in doing 100 of them for as you're getting closer to making it more clear and clear and clear. You know, I would be taken away from that because that's not how people see anyway. The problem is you have to make it good enough so that the people who are watching the players play can have it too. I mean, it's one thing for the player to be always focused where they're going, but the other players want to load around the screen, which would be the second bubble. You know, I mean, really, you know, using even Xbox and Wii technologies wouldn't be that complicated. You know, I mean, if you don't use it on a DVD player, you know, if you build a console for this, then, you know, I mean, my first game was going to be a mountain climbing game. You know, this thing's the legit real game. You know, you have like a Wii, right? 2 controllers as you're climbing up the mountain. It takes 4 hours, 8 hours to climb up this thing, and that's just the face. Once you climb, you got to take naps. You know, you got to hammer pegs in the walls, and you have to squeeze these fucking tight enough. You know, so it really feels like by the time you get up on the mountain, you're going to be strained. You're going to be tired. You're going to have to pull out your knapsack and have it hanging there so you can sleep in your little tent on the side of the cliff. You know, then you get up on top and you have to worry about the snow caving in, you know, and the avalanches and wind and cold and food deprivation, you know, because real life games, you know, where the elements are killing you as much as any character in a game would. You know, this isn't a game where you tap, 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 getting sliced with a sword and it's not erasing body parts. You know, if you get thrown into a building from 100 feet, you know what I mean? This stuff hurts you. You know, and there is no super heal. The big problem with the 80s, you know, they tried to go in like Doom. They made these games that were so hard because they were realistic and nobody liked playing them because everybody prefers the crack games, you know, the little games that don't matter. Well, this is the for the gamers who do care. This is for the gamers who go and have to beat every game. That's horrible. They beat it and then they wait for the next one. They have no love for it. They have no. I mean, like, wow. I mean, who couldn't sit there and look at those mounts? I mean, is their time so thin that they can only go and do their mission and then stop? They never appreciate it. Huh. And that's what this is. It's the game that forces interaction. You know, the game system that builds game systems. Because as the loops and the environments would be there, it doesn't matter what you put on top of that two-dimensional map. Mountains or buildings, they all have damage areas, zones. You can break them if you're strong enough. They're all. Then it's just finding the color. You could take with a person. I told you, it's like a string. It's a bunch of loops. That it's a tree, a loop tree. That this is walking, and then this is running, and then this configuration does fighting. And they all start at the same trunk. It's as the controller configurations go up, all these little pieces are attached to them. All these little trees, lines, that allows the characters to move. That's how a video game works. And so if you take a picture, any picture you've ever seen, you load it, right? You scan the picture, you put it on there. It would take the picture using my 3D graphing of two-dimensional objects. The computer program would take the picture, take the image, fill it in all the spaces it can, all the trees in the spaces it can, all the ground, and using it, it's like, yes, then if you have a two-dimensional picture, you don't know what their back looks like. So you would need as many pictures as you can get. But then if you have those pictures, front, back, left, right, it can do the top and the bottom, you know what I mean? It can pretty much decide for itself to cope them. So you'd be able to run around with the character you drew. Video game that makes video games using real life pictures. It's $1 billion maker. Because everybody's played a video game and then they play the next one and it has the same board. I think they did that with 007 and Perfect Dark. Two great games. But I did not need to play the same board re-rendered in it. It was the same map. It was horrible. It was bad, And this, you would never have that. Because it's just building a map, Oh well. Guess I'm going to end that now. And like I said, I kind of gave it a wow because I was impressed with them today. Because they did, they're building the world, And between that and Minecraft, this is what my game is. Except it's buildable, Well, I guess Minecraft is buildable. That's what it is. It's Minecraft with wow visuals. And you can build it at all. And you can change the megabytes. You can have people look 8-bit just like it. Or you can have them look real life. An image is an image. It's just how much pixelations involved. How many pixels are there? The more pixels, the more real it looks, which is the heavier workload. It's like, yeah, but I got a 5 gig computer that blows. I mean, 5 gigs is huge. I had Windows 7 Vista. It was the greatest computer ever. It could make EXE. I had a dice that was rollable. A 20-sided dice. It could come up with random numbers. I was ready to build, but the visual optics on it weren't right. So I go and buy the next one, and it doesn't open EXE files, so I can't build it at all. I had 15 megabytes wrote down on that computer before it got crashed and had to get a new. Oh, that's horrible. 15 megabytes was a lot of data. It was almost the full game. All I had to do was cut and paste the pieces into the C++ and add the operators, and it would have been a functioning game. It had all the strengths, the real life strengths, the damages, the speeds per square inch, pounds per square inch. It had everything needed, and it would have been done. And it would have been in a little file that you just keep going back to, you know, so that you can always use that data. So that character never gets weaker because, you know, well, he can get weaker, but you know what I mean. That's the problem with WoW. WoW goes and builds the greatest characters ever, and then with the next game has to make them a little inferior instead of evolving them and growing them. And you can't always shoot for the ceiling. That's not the greatest part of the room. It's the toys in the room and the people in the room and every time you make a new game, it doesn't have to. It's about the challenges being more. And yeah, nobody wants to get to a last boss and have him be weaker than the first one, but that's a conflict of interest. Have you ever fought Sonic the Hedgehog? You know, he don't need to have a lot of strength. All you got to do is hit him twice and not let him get a ring. But the fact of doing that is almost impossible to any true indie class. The kind that goes so fast it breaks the screen and the whole thing has to start over because you got so far ahead of it. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, this is so that, like I said on my Sonic video, leave the tutorials for in-game rank building. This way you can race the little characters, and so you get all the rings, kill all the bad guys, find all the chows, you know what I mean? And still get there faster than, just fast enough that the screen doesn't break. That shows you're a professional. Not that, oh, I beat every game. I beat every game ever made in front of me. It's like, yeah, but you only do 20% of it. You don't do any of the extra stuff. You don't do any of the quests. You don't find all the stuff. So, and your times would be horrible if you did, you know? So let's change the world. For real. A $1 billion game system that builds $1 billion games. Because every game they put out there was worth $1 billion. I could make infinite number of them. Infinite. One after the next. And the pieces are already together. Because it's all in my fucking dice game. It's already there. Illusions and things. And for real, I mean, it's an hour and a half video, but considering it's the entire storage bank for this, it's the entire Minecraft part, while this is the entire WoW part. you know, where everything comes together and you have to make the phone call to have backup come in, you know, to have buttons and pieces that, because everything's limited now, you know, it really limited itself with the number of controller buttons you have. And that fixed it, you know, it's autos and presets, triggers that, how many different ways is there to start a bomb, you know, timed, proximity, thrown, pulled, you know, impact, and still misfire. Alright, it's 2050 right now, so I'm gonna go. Remember, all of my stuff isn't free, and if you steal it, it's damnation. So, I'd really, bro, my stuff takes everything seriously, and it's worth every dime. It's better than anything they make, because it goes into any story. You know, yes, I don't give you a Hulk story, an Incredible Hulk. Well, with the Hulk I did, but with the character profiles, none of that goes in. It's just the character. You can put them into any situation, and it'll tell you how they go and act. You never have to go and use new tricks to. And then it's about getting the right equipment or characters. You know, they go and you end up watching this movie and they can't do that, but in the very next one they do it anyway because they didn't have enough foresight